Hey guys, Griffin here. Today I'm going to be going over frost resist gear for Phase 2. If you're not aware, in Phase 2, SSC comes out, Serpentine Cavern, and there's a boss named HYDROSS that requires two tanks, one to have full nature resist, the other to have full frost resist. And normally this is done with a combination of warrior and paladin because they have a much easier time getting resist capped. However, bears can do it specifically for frost, and we're going to be going over that. So in case you don't have a warrior and a paladin, maybe you're running two bears and a paladin or whatever combination, three bears, I don't know, that'd be awesome. Maybe you'll have to get a set built out. I recommend going for the frost resist. If you're stuck with nature, good luck. It's a tough one for bears. But today let's just talk about frost resist gear and we'll go from there. So first, let me show you a nice little website. This is called 70 Upgrades. I recommend it. I use it all the time. I build out different sets so I can compare them. Like I can run my current tank set to see what's going on. You can do a comparison if you want to. Right now, I'm going to focus on Phase 2 Frost Resist. So here is my current setup for what I plan to do in order to get resist capped. Now, there's a lot of flexibility here. As you can see, I'm actually 7 over the resist cap. Actually, let's back up and I'll explain to you what the frost resist cap is. So in TBC Classic, the 73, level 73 or boss frost resist cap is 365. However, paladins and shaman have the ability to give you 70 from either a totem or an aura. So that drops it down. And on top of that, you could be taking the flask of Chromatic Wonder, I believe is what it's called, which adds another 35. So now you're down 105 from the 365, putting you at 260. So technically I'm 7 over. Now, there's two things that I'm focusing on, frost resist and defense cap. I'm not 100% that defense cap is necessary because this is going to be magic damage, so defense cap might not matter. I think it's still important as a tank to have it. If it changes that we don't need defense cap, it's going to make it a lot easier because we're not going to be as restricted by one or the other, because it's not hard to get the right frost resist and it's not hard to get defense cap. To get both at the same time is a little tricky, which is why I'm going to go over this. So first, if you want to take a look at the items on the screen, I'm going to go over why I'm using the ones that I'm using. So first, Helm of the Claw. The reason I'm using this is because I have it. I'm currently using it, waiting for the Helm of Malorn to drop or whatever it's called. But once I get the helm, I'm not going to delete this. I'm actually going to repurpose it by putting a 4 resist gem and then getting the 20 frost resist from, I believe it's Keepers of Time. And then I won't have to worry about farming any sort of helm. There are helms you can farm, I believe, in I want to say Blade's Edge. There is a helm here. Let's take a look really quick. Emerald Beholder Eye of Frost Protection in Shadowmoon Valley from Kalidas the Warp Watcher. There you go. So if you can happen to get your hands on this, obviously it's better. If you're sitting on Polar Helm from Nax, obviously that's a good choice. But if not, pretty much any helm that's got a couple slots in it to give you a little bit of like a flexibility is pretty much the way to go. If you look at other people that build out their sets, a lot of times they lean heavily into gemming, and that is a way to go. I'm going to show you with my heavy Klepto set. But if you can just get a decent helm and slap some frost resist and other things like that, it'll still work. So the next thing is the Pendant of Thawing. This is a jewel craft item. We'll go over that in a second. Pretty much just get it crafted. I'm wearing the Bone Chewer shoulder guards of Frost, which is not Frost looking, as you can see. But that's gonna drive me crazy. Okay. But I happen to have these already. I got them, so I'm holding on to them. And then I just put the 7 resist from the Inscription of Endurance from the Violent Eye Honored. And then I'm wearing the Gilded Thorium Cloak, but you could be wearing the Glacial Cloak that you might have from Nax. Again, this can be crafted by a tailor. It does require frozen runes, which we're going to talk about later, but they're hard to get. So if you don't need this, try to skip it. It's still 24 frost resist, which isn't bad, but it's one of the lower frost resist items. So anyway, we'll keep going. So now, something I am going to be crafting is the polar set. So there's actually a total of 4 pieces, but you only need to craft 3. Polar tunic, polar bracers, and polar gloves. The polar leggings are not crafted. They're purchased in a way from an NPC in Eastern Plaguelands. You do need some items and some gold to buy it. We'll go over that in a second too. I'm wearing Earth Warden because I want the defense. Obviously, if you don't need the defense, you'd go with the Strangle Staff instead. But I'll be using Earth Warden until I hear otherwise. We already went over Polar Gloves. Now, if you see these +8 frost resist, I've got them on my chest, on my hands, and on my legs. These are really great. You can craft them pretty easily. It's going to require, I think, 4 heavy knot hide and 4 primal fires. Yes, it's expensive. You can farm these. That's what I've been doing lately. Try to get them now if you're going to buy them because the price is going to go up on those primal fires. However, for polar leggings, there actually is an alternative, and I would argue a better one. You can add 10 frost resist instead from the Eastern Plaguelands, like repeatable item. So you do need some specific stuff for this. We'll go over that again as well. But if you get this, this is slightly better. However, what I recommend is try to completely get away from these armor kits on the legs and go for the nether cleft leg armor instead. Just because 40 stamina is so good, it sucks that you're going to eat it up with 8 to 10 frost resist. But if you can't, don't stress about it. Just stick with what you got. Okay, so then into the rings. Now, there are actually a couple ring choices. I'm using the Violet Signet of the Great Protector because I want that defense rating and the armor and the stamina. However, there is a way you can go double frost resist gear, or frost resist ring, I should say. However, I'm trying to make sure I get that defense cap, so I'm sticking with this for now. The Frozen Eye is another crafted jewel crafter one, a little expensive, so if you don't need this, it's a good way to avoid it. However, 35 frost resist is nice. If you were in Nax, you might have, I'm just going to call this Icy Grasp. It's 10 less frost resist, a little bit more stamina, and it's essentially free if you already have it. So if you can make this work, make this work. You could also look for like the Amber Band of Frost Resistance, decent, and the stamina is actually much higher than Icy Grasp and Frozen Eye. So if you don't want to pay for that, and maybe you could just purchase this at the auction house, might be a good way for you to go. It might be cheaper than actually crafting the Frozen Eye, and the stats are pretty decent. Again, it depends on what you need, depending on what you have. Okay, and then yeah, so I've got the Frozen Eye. However, if I decide I want to do man, I'm just gonna call it Icy Grasp. You can see I dropped down below 257. This isn't horrible to be below the 260 goal, but it's not good. Essentially, it's a weird scaling system that the closer you are to the frost resistance gap, the more 1 point adds value. Uh, it's hard to explain, but just trust me. If you can get 260, you're better off. But anything above 255, or I should say 360, is good. But you really want to hit that 365 marker. Okay, so now for trinkets, I went with Time Lapse Shard because I want that resilience and the stamina. And then I actually had to go with Regal Protectorate. It's this defense rating item I've been holding on to just in case I need defense. Turns out apparently I do. If I find a way to not, and I'm going to show you some examples, I'm going to drop this. And actually, let's cover that right now. The easiest way to get defense capped is actually through resilience, not through defense. So there's 2 items that I recommend you look into. So as you can see, I'm wearing the Tree Mentor's belt. However, there is the Veterans. I'm going to get rid of this so it doesn't show. Yeah, Veterans Leather Belt. The Dragonhide belt. Now we'll take, let's see, the resilience is higher on this one. But it is going to be PvP. So if I get that, obviously 1.47, I'm way over the cap, and that's great. However, I do have to get this, and I currently don't have a lot of PvP points stacked up, especially not for Alterac Valley. I've got maybe 10. Um, oh no, sorry, it is Arathi Basin. Yeah, okay. So I think I've got about 10 from here, and only about 6,100 points left. So I'm gonna have to start farming if I really want this. So if you plan to do it through the PvP items, definitely start now. Get these ready to go. So when you can buy them, it's gonna make it a lot easier. Getting those 2 resilience pieces, like let's say you get the other one is the Veterans Leather Bracers. These 2 pieces alone are actually going to make defense cap. I mean, so you need 2.65%. Those 2 pieces plus I think I've got the shard are already up to 1.85. So for defense, I really only need another zero point 0.8, which shouldn't be that hard. And on top of that, you do get a gem slot, and void spheres count for red, yellow, or blue. So you're automatically going to get that bonus, which on the bracers is, of course, more resilience, which makes it even better. So now you're up to 1.9, you only need 0.7. Uh, However, by doing that, you notice my frost resist to drop down, so I have to find a way to make it work. Now, I did skip over my heavy cleft hoof boots. This is important. If you have the heavy cleft hoof set and you start replacing it, don't delete those. Just like I did with the helm of the claw, repurpose them. So for this one, I haven't yet, but let's say I need more frost resist. I can come in here and swap these out to get more resist. And yes, I'm still 10 short, but you can see like I didn't have to get a new item. Yes, void spheres are expensive. So I mean they're probably gonna cost you around right now, probably around 50 gold each. If you get an enchanter to create them for you. But there are places where you can, cover more territory by doing stuff like that. Um, I'll give you another example. Let me bump this up to Frozen Eye. So now I'm one shy. If I can get the Ice Guard, I'm one over, which is perfect. Uh, there's a lot of wiggle room here, and I can actually swap this out. I'm actually going to put the, I think it's the Violet badge, just for the extra stamina. There we go. So I'm still defense capped. I've still got my frost resistance, and it's really going to depend on the gear you have. But the important thing is you do this now and not later. And here's why. So I talked to you about the polar tunic, the polar bracers, other things like that, and I kind of implied that you can craft them. You can, except they require frozen runes, which you can only get in Naxxramas, which nobody runs anymore. So what you're going to want to do is very secretly and without throwing up too much suspicion, you're going to want to start buying frozen runes up off the auction house or asking your guild for them before anybody else does. You're going to want 18 frozen runes to do everything that's currently displayed on the screen right now, to do the all four pieces. I started buying them a couple weeks ago at 10 gold a pop, which is awesome. Somebody noticed, I think, that either they realized that the price is more valuable than that, or they just started jacking the price up. But now they're up to 40 gold. And as much as I want to pay for that, I actually have enough now, so I'm not too worried about it, but it's hard to farm. However, fun fact, if you have runes of thawing, which you get from killing bosses, or you can get them from your guild members, or your guild leader has them, or you have them, you can actually stealth into Nax once a week, and do, I think there's a total of 5 per run, but I stealthed in and did Instructor Resuvius. Walked in, got it, walked out, no problem. The one in the spider wing is hard because you have to open a door, and I don't think it's possible as a druid. As a rogue, it is because you can vanish. I'm trying to think of the other ones. It's really hit or miss. Oh yeah, so if you go to the like the patchwork construct, I think that's the patchwork section. When you go into the circle room after the first 2 rooms, like when you make that left turn to the left turn, you have to jump the green thing. Uh, the blobs will pull you out of stealth. So you can't do that unless you're a rogue. So again, it sucks. The guaranteed one that you definitely can do as a druid is Instructor Resuvius. And as long as you have the scroll of thawing or whatever it is, you can go in, farm those once a week, and have enough eventually. I mean, it's going to take you 18 weeks if you do one at a time. Hopefully, you can make friends with the rogue and have them do it for you. But the point is, you can farm these now. If you start buying them later, phase 2, they're going to be expensive because other bears might try to do the same thing. And another shortcut is the cloak, and it uses the same runes. And maybe some warriors and paladins might think the cloak is the way to go instead of having to buy the ring, thing like that. So just keep an eye out for getting frozen runes now. Okay, so just frozen runes, there's 18. You need 40 enchanted leather, those are relatively cheap right now. 9 cured rugged hide, very cheap right now. 8 essence of water, pretty cheap. 12 ironwood spider silk. Actually, these were expensive for me. I ended up farming them myself because I think they were 10 gold on the auction house on my server, which is Westfall. So I ended up just farming them. I went out to Silithus and just killed spiders for about an hour. It took me about an hour to get 12. They drop like every type of silk, so just keep going at it. You'll get it. You need 2 blue sapphires. Those are just for the polar leggings so that you can buy them. And you need 30 gold for the polar leggings as well. So if you get all those items, 18, 40, 9, 8, 12, 2, and 30 gold, that will get you the 4 polar items that you can purchase and or craft. Then the ring is 2 corium bars, 4 mercurial adamantite, 6 primal water, and 6 primal fire. Expensive, especially the primal fire. I've been farming primal fire, so I don't have to pay for them. If you don't know where primal fire spots are, you should definitely check them out on YouTube. There's a great spot in Hellfire Peninsula. Even if there's like 20 people there, it's still just a great. I mean, I think I did it for an hour and had 4 primal fires, which is pretty good for me since I was just sitting on one spawn spot, not trying to chase them. So yeah, definitely if you're gonna go for the ring, get some primal fire and primal water. The neck is 2 fell steel bars, 4 primal water, 6 primal fire, and 1 mercurial adamantite. Now, for my current setup, as you can see on the screen, I'm using 2 frost resist armor kits. That's gonna set me at back 8 heavy knot hide leather and 8 more primal fire. So yeah, so the primal fire is gonna be big. For the head enchant, the 20 frost resist, you need to be honored with Keepers of Time, and it's going to cost you 85 gold. For this particular setup, I used, I think for this current setup right here, which I'm going to change this because I wouldn't rock these. I'm just going to rock the this solid. Here we go. Okay, so I've got a void sphere here, and I might need a second one if I end up going with the the veteran bracers. So if I only need one void sphere, it's just going to cost me 2 void crystals. If I need obviously 2 of them, I'm going to need 4 void crystals. Currently, there's no void spheres on my auction house right now because nobody's crafting them. So I can't tell you the price of a void sphere by itself, but eventually they will come up on the auction house as void spheres, and it's probably going to run you about 100 gold per if I'm guessing right in phase 2. If you get them now, you can probably have them crafted for about 50 gold, maybe less, depending on the prices on your server. Okay, so the leg enchants. If you're going to go with the 10 frost resist, it's going to take 10 insignia of the crusade and 30 gold. If you don't have the insignia and you don't want to farm them, you could just do another frost armor kit. Again, that's just going to be 4 heavy knot hide leather and 4 more primal fire. Or you can get the netherclef leg armor, which yes, it's expensive, but it's a much better item than the other two. So if you end up doing that, you obviously don't have to worry about it, but then you've got to make sure you're over the cap somehow. So maybe swap this here, and there you go, 267. I went with heavy clef with boots that already have the stamina, so I don't have to worry about it. So we're gonna see how this goes. This is gonna be like my wiggle room spot right here. I really want that 40 stamina, so I'll probably end up something like this. Okay, let's see. Let's jump down to the frozen eye. Oh, I kind of already went over that. Okay, I apologize. Leg enchant, bracer enchant, the 12 stamina. That's pretty just. Oh, okay. So actually, you did want to talk about this. So right now, I've got polar bracers with 12 stamina. If you've been looking at the enchanting stuff lately, it's much cheaper to go with the +9. I guess you could do defense rating instead if you're having a hard time with defense cap. But the superior stamina is much cheaper. So the full fortitude, the 12 stamina, is 1 large prismatic shard, 10 greater planar essences, and 20 arcane dust. But if you drop it down to superior stamina, you're only looking at oh man, hold on, let me click on it because I don't have it here. Okay, it's much cheaper, but the problem is it is old world stuff, so you might have a hard time getting it. Here's an estimate of what it's going to cost: 18 gold. The other choice is stats, which is also pretty cheap. That is, I've got that here. 6 arcane dust and 6 lesser planar essences. So this is like I think a third, if not, yeah, it's much cheaper. Either stats or the 9 stamina. Especially since it's only for one fight. I wouldn't stress too much if you only get the 9 or the stats instead of the fortitude. I know a lot of people prefer the stats anyway on the bracers. I usually go with stamina just because I like the extra health pool, but to each their own. And then I think that's it. I mean, definitely use 70 upgrades. Definitely play around. The way it works, and I don't use these as a guide, but you can create an equivalency point. So I'll show you mine. I just kind of made them up really quick. And this will actually determine the order in which the gear shows up when you click on it. I just wanted frost resist to come up first, but stamina and defense rating to be important so that I could find items closer towards the top. But these definitely aren't like hard numbers that I recommend using. It's just a quick guide for me to look at. But I definitely recommend using this tool. There is a lot of flexibility here. Like again, one example, if you have the glacial cloak and you put the major resistance on there, you're now at 298. So you could drop a whole, I mean, you could just put, let's see, what's anything. I mean, you could literally any ring you want. Band of impenetrable defenses. There you go. Just by putting that ring on, you're still above, but now you've got more defense rating if that's what you need. Tons of extra stamina if you want that. I mean, the choices are a lot more flexible. I forgot to go over the shoulders. There are better choices. This is just what I have. But again, if you have the polar shoulder pads or the icy tomb spalders from Skolo, which you could farm, I guess, if you wanted to, you could also do PvP gear. And I think there's actually a decent, yeah, Blaze Edge Mountain More Crush. These are decent too. If you want to farm this, is going to take you forever. But hey, man, if you got the free time, do it. But that's pretty much it. Good luck. Hope you can get the gear. Hope you do it before the prices go up. Take care.